Welcome back to the Dekaland podcast. I know it's been a minute. Apologies. I'm here to tell you where the F I have been. But first, let me light this candle. Never take your sense of smell for granted. Granted? I always say granite. That is not the right word. Anyway, appreciate your sense of taste and smell. I know I do. I love candles. So, this Happy Days infused with essential oils candle, for the viewers, you can see the cute little front. But for the listeners, it smells like sandalwood, which is one of my all-time favorite smells. So, now that that is lit and the vibe has been set, let me explain where I have been. Okay, so I had an amazing time doing the first 4 episodes of this podcast. I put them up on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on all the podcast platforms, and I had a blast doing it. And then I got off track, and I'm going to tell you exactly what transpired during these last few months. But I just want to say that I really appreciate anybody who has tuned in to this podcast. It's also going up in video form on YouTube, kind of like I'm just talking, storytime style videos. But if I'm going to do storytime style videos, that's fine. But I'm always going to have good audio. So it will always also be in podcast format so that if you just want to listen to me tell the story and you don't want to have to futz around with YouTube and ads and all that, you can literally just listen to the podcast and like go for a walk and not have to worry about it. I like options, okay? And I'm here to give you some options. So, let me explain. I did those first 4 episodes. I had an amazing time doing it. I learned so much from that process, learned so much about myself, learned so much about what it is like to put your content out there consistently for some time, right? Because that's something that unless you do it, you don't really know what it's like and you don't really know how it feels until you're doing it, right? So I did it and it proved to me that I can do it. So here I am to do it, and I'm not going to take a break. I'm going to do this consistently for at least a year. I promise myself that, and I promise you. So that hiatus it happened, but it's not going to become the norm. I am making a promise to myself and to you to be consistent with this content. Okay, so where was I? Well, I went to Hawaii for about 9 days, and it was amazing. So let me take you back. It was May 28th, May 26th, maybe, that I left and came back around like June 6th. So it was a good like almost 10 days, 9 nights, 43rd floor, Honolulu, Oahu. We had a balcony. Me and my boyfriend went together. It was our first trip away. It was so incredible, and I would love to talk more about that trip. Maybe I'll just get into it now because I actually recorded a podcast when I came back all about my Hawaii experience, but it didn't feel right to post it. So let me just tell you a little bit about my experience going to Hawaii for the first time. It was amazing. It was beautiful. It was sunny. It was warm. The water was incredible. I still have dreams about the beautiful blue water. It was such a beautiful color. And I grew up by the beach. I love the beach so much. Hold the beach and the ocean near and dear to my heart. Cremate me and throw my ashes into the ocean like I am a mermaid. I want to say some cuss words. I guess I can, right? I am a mermaid. Beep, beep. You know what I mean? Anyway. Yeah, so loved the beach, had the best naps of my life on the beach, have never been so relaxed in my life. I will never go 20 something years without a proper restful beach vacation ever again. I might not even go a year without it. Like, I need to be on those Hawaiian beaches every 2 years at least, okay? And I highly recommend it. It was amazing to take a break from the capitalist grind and just rest and sleep and relax and reflect, and not even reflect, just rest. Like, just be in rest mode and not even thinking about anything. Sleep, literally sleep on the beach. It was amazing. There were times where me and my boyfriend were swimming and it started raining, and that was like super romantic, and other times where like somebody put rose petals into the water at the beach, and that was so beautiful. And we had such a good time, and we really learned more about ourselves and each other. And there was one rough day. I will be real. Like, there was one day where, like, things like so much came to the surface that like there were emotions involved. I cried. But we worked through it. It was so necessary and really so beautiful in the end. And I really appreciated that trip and just what it did for us together. Oh, and individually, all of it. It was just so amazing. And the place we stayed was beautiful. The view was amazing. The bed sucked. Okay. If I could do it over, I would try to make sure that the bed specifically is more comfortable, because it was not. And we were there for 9 nights. So it was not perfect, but for the price, I was like, okay, I get it. Because we didn't spend too much. And at the time, it was a beautiful thing because Delta variant and other variants were not a thing yet. Like, that was the moment of this year where we it was right there. Like, we could see it, we could see the light of like, okay, we got through the, first year and a half of the pandemic. We got vaccinated. We got tested just to get to Hawaii. So we were vaccinated and tested negative, and we were in there like swimwear. Okay. And it was incredible. And I felt so that added to my like rest and relaxation, right? Was we're protected. We're vaccinated, and we're beating this thing. We're getting through it. Let's, reward ourselves by going to Hawaii. And us and everybody else in America had the same thought, apparently, because they were slammed when we got there for Memorial Day weekend, and it has only ramped up ever since, except come, late June, the Delta variant made herself very present in on everybody's radar. So honestly, I didn't care that much about the Delta variant. I'm like, I'm vaccinated. I've done everything that I was supposed to do over this last year and a half. I stayed home. I stayed safe. I masked up. I washed my hands. I started taking more vitamins, the whole shebang, right? So Hawaii was incredible. We come back, and I really got distracted by a project that I was going to work on with a friend. And I don't want to get into it because it's not necessary, but I do have to mention it because that's where I was. So for about, 5 weeks, I had dedicated a lot of myself to a project. And, all of the intentions were so good. I don't regret the experience at all. I learned from it. And it was a very important lesson for me. And it put me in the right direction in the end. It didn't work out, and it really upset me. It was hard. It was really a hard lesson about, not saying no, but knowing what things are right for you and what things are something that you need to walk away from. So, I thought I was going to get involved and it was going to be great. When I got to work, I realized it wasn't a good fit for me. And then I had to make the really, 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 really tough decision at the time to walk away from it and to, feel like I was letting my friend down and being like, I can't do this. This role, this is not a good fit for me. You deserve somebody who can actually meet the expectations of the job that you need, because, it's a film project and they're very collaborative, and every single job on a film set is so important. And from pre-production to post, every single job is so important. It's extremely collaborative. And I was doing a role that I had never done before. And I, eagerly accepted the job, and then I couldn't do it. I wasn't good at it, and it wasn't good for me, and I had to, you know, feel like I was letting myself down, my friend down, but in the end I knew that it was the thing that I needed to do, that I needed to walk away from it. Um and kind of refocus on the things that make me happy, the things that feel almost effortless, things that are hard work, but still feel really good and really right. And I'm telling you, doing this podcast, YouTube, etc., content that I'm doing on my own, this is what feels the most right for me. And it's something that I have come to and then got distracted, many times over the last few years. And I finally feel like I'm at a point where no more distractions can get in the way of this. And that's why I can say confidently, like, I'm going to do this for a year consistently, at least multiple videos per week. I'm talking a podcast, a vlog every single week. You're going to get at least 2 things from me. And that's scary. Honestly, it's scary to say, but I mean it. So, follow on everything: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, subscribe, Spotify, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all of it. I am here and I'm here to stay. So, anyway, where was I? So coming off of that disappointment. Okay, hold on. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to make sure that everything's recording because, I'm a little rusty. But yeah, so coming off of that disappointment, that kind of feeling defeated, but ultimately, like I said, knowing that it was the right thing for me to do. Coming off of that, how I dealt with the stress and the low, because, life is but a series of highs and lows. And what makes the lows easier for me is knowing that it's just that. It's just a low, and it's not gonna last. It's temporary, and I'm gonna come back from it, and then there's gonna be a high. And really, I'm getting better at less low lows and less high highs, and more of just a even flow, And so coming off of that low, to cope with that stress and that, kind of depressed feeling, I went to Disneyland. So I have a friend who works at a company that I worked at a few years back, and we've stayed in touch and we stayed friends. And now the company that she works for technically is owned by Disney. So she gets to go to Disneyland for free with friends, for free parking, and lots of free little things. And I had never been to Disneyland before, and like my boyfriend is not a Disney kind of person, so it was never like on our list of things to do really. And my gut just knew, do not spend your money on going to Disneyland. You know what I mean? It's expensive. It's not like a cheap ticket. So it was never something that I'm like, oh yeah, let me save my money so I can go to Disneyland. I just hoped that it would happen one day. And then there I was, at a really low point, and my friend's like, hey, you want to go to Disneyland for free? And I'm like, yes, of course. So I went with my friend and then her 2 friends. My boyfriend stayed back. And wow, what an experience. As an adult, going to Disney felt weird. It felt like I should have kids at the very least while I'm there. But I did not. None of us did. And it was a good time. I'm thankful that my friend took me, obviously, and I would totally go back with her again. And I would totally go to like the other California Adventure part. I had been to I had been to the parks in Florida back in like 2007. And I like vaguely remember it, but what I remember is it being hot and sticky and gross Florida weather, and the park being like really big, and like we had to travel like a lot to get to all of the stuff. And yeah, we went with like my parents, And I don't remember it being like that great, but um that Florida trip in particular was like a long-winded family vacation where my mom was much younger and partying really hard. So it was a weird time for me, but that's another subject for another video, podcast, what have you. So I go to Disneyland for the whole day. And, it helped get me out of the funk a little bit. It felt like, okay, I just made a really tough decision, and immediately the universe rewarded me with Disneyland. Like, how cute, how cute of the universe to do that. So I went, I bought the ears, the whole thing. It was weird because we are still in a pandemic and everybody was wearing masks, kind of. There's definitely some people there that were sporting like anti-mask t-shirts at Disneyland and not wearing a mask, obviously. And like, a lot of it's outdoors. So it felt like, okay, well, there's a lot of people here because the capacity was full. It was not like a limited capacity. And, people were outside without their mask. And I had mine on most of the time, even when I was outside, because I'm like, we're just around a lot of people, a lot of kids. And, okay, staying on this timeline where the Delta variant is like surging up, right? But I'm still like, I'm vaccinated, I'm safe, I'm protected, I've been doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. I'm still wearing a mask, even outside, at Disneyland. But there were a lot of kids around, and we, as you should probably know, the kids are not vaccinated yet. They're not the vaccines are not approved for young kids yet, which kind of makes them more susceptible to these new variants, and they can pass along the COVID, because they are not vaccinated, and they're kids and they're everywhere and they're nasty and everything. So that did make me anxious. Like, this is the most children that I had been around in years. Like, years. I'm not a kid person. I am not going out of my way to go be around kids. I do not nanny because I'm not into kids. Okay. Like, I'm not into hanging out with children. Like, they're cute. There are lots of responsibility. I'm not really trying to get into that, but yeah. So because of that, the kids and the masks and the pandemic at Disneyland, it was weird on top of weird. Like, Disneyland is like this weird capitalist dream nightmare where all of your childhood heroes such as Winnie the Pooh come to life, and you're riding around on these little boat things in the dark in the middle of the day, and Winnie the Pooh's like woo, and that Small World song, I'm not even going to try and remember it because it was so terrible. And if I even think about that Small World song, if you've been there, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. If I think about it for too long and it comes to my mind, it's going to be stuck in my mind, and I'm probably going to have nightmares about that castle tonight, and I don't want to. So anyway, coming off of my low point, I go to Disneyland. It's weird, whatever. I went on a Sunday, go back to work the next day, and yeah, because work as in my day job. And so I'm just going through the decompression of coming off of something that felt like a really big deal to me. Disneyland took the edge off a bit. And then and then my boyfriend got to open up for one of his most favorite techno artists, and I was so proud of him and so excited. And we went, we had the best time. And it was a rave, so like the techno scene, if you don't know, hosts a lot of warehouse rave parties here downtown LA. I've been going for the last few years consistently all the time with my boyfriend because that's like his whole thing, and it's so awesome. And he got to open up for one of his favorite artists, and I was just so proud. And it was so cool to see and really so inspiring because I know that like months before he got that opportunity, he had no idea that it was coming, and it meant so much to him, and it was just so cool to see it all play out. And I danced and had a great time, and we went to a couple warehouse raves, okay, which I love to do. And once again, I found myself in a crowded situation and in this scenario not wearing my mask because there was more. Okay, let me talk about that real quick. There's more requirements to get into a warehouse rave than there is to get into Disneyland. Okay, at the warehouse rave, you have to show your proof of vaccination or proof of a negative test in the last 72 hours or get a rapid test. At Disneyland, nothing. So honestly, I felt like very safe at the warehouse rave. Totally let my guard down. Didn't wear a mask. Danced the night away. Near friends, hugging friends, being in close proximity to people and to strangers. Well, my friends, then about a week after the last rave, I started feeling a scratchy throat. And I started feeling it in my sleep, and I knew that I was sick. And within about 48 hours, it turned into a very sore throat. Very sore throat, something that I had not felt in years. And actually, I went to a doctor in Hollywood. Do not recommend, because this doctor did nothing for me. Did not even mention COVID. So, obviously was no help. I was going for a completely unrelated ear, nose, and throat situation. Turned out that I was fine, but I was not fine because I probably had COVID. But the symptoms were a little different. I say don't take your smell for granted, and I would never, because I love taste and smell so much. I love candles. I love good smelling everything. And I was actually checking on my ears. My ears are great. But while I was there, I told this doctor, I have this sore throat. I don't know what it is. Like, I was so miffed. Like, what is this? What, can you help me? What should I do for a sore throat? He doesn't even respond by, it might be COVID. So whatever, I go back home and it gets worse. And then I have all of the symptoms all of a sudden, like extreme body aches, extreme fatigue, extremely sore throat that developed into a cough, a nasty chest congested cough that hurt for a couple of days, very bad headaches. What else? All of it. Like, I had all the symptoms. Except for loss of taste and smell. Kept those the whole time. But the fatigue and the cough and the sore throat and the headache, and a fever. When I checked my fever a few times, and the highest time that I checked, and it might have been higher at some other points, but it was like 102. So I make a, COVID test appointment, even though I'm vaccinated, been vaccinated for months, Pfizer. And I was able to check off all the symptoms. When they ask you, have you been feeling all of these symptoms? I was like, yes. And it was more than half of them. So in my mind, I'm like, do I have the Delta variant, And I was really kind of shocked. I was really just going about my life. I did everything that I was supposed to do this last year and a half. I got vaccinated as soon as I could, and I've been safe. And yes, I didn't wear a mask, while I was on the dance floor. But I thought I was going to be fine. I thought the vaccine was going to work. I got very, very sick, and it didn't last for too long. And I think I was kind of in denial for a little bit about it. My boyfriend also got sick. We both still have cough stuff, right? Cough issues. But our tests came back negative, and I felt so gaslit. I knew I had all the symptoms except for, taste and smell, which they had said, okay, that doesn't really happen with the Delta variant. So it's everything else does though. And I had everything else. So, it was hard. And, it was really disappointing that I finally felt, really eerie to know that I had the thing that had taken out so many people around the world. And also very relieved at the same time to know I'm vaccinated, so I'm probably going to be okay. I'm probably not going to need to go to the hospital. That was an amazing feeling. But actually being that sick was awful, and I feel for everybody who lost a loved one to this terrible illness. And everybody who even came close to losing themselves or losing somebody, like it's really spooky. And until you actually are experiencing it, you don't fully, you know, feel the gravity of the situation. And I just, pushed through. My boyfriend pushed through. Our test came back negative, but I know that I had all the symptoms. And sure enough, now they're finally saying this week, there's this South African variant, there's the variant that was in Peru, and they're, not as the vaccines are not holding up against these variants. And that would make sense, like that me and my boyfriend probably got it because we're both vaccinated and it did not work. Like it kept us out of the hospital, but we absolutely got so sick. And I'm sharing it on here because I don't know who else to tell. Like, you know what I mean? Like once you're sick and you realize, okay, even if you get tested and it tells you that, yes, you have COVID, there's no next steps. Like there's no contact tracing going on. There's no, okay, now that you definitely have COVID, this is what you should do. I'm literally looking for advice on TikTok. Like that is so insane. And we should not be living in America and living like that. We should have support. We should have health care. And I'm so fed up and sick of the old boomers acting like we're asking for too much. We're in a pandemic and we still don't have any health care. We still don't have like systems to support. It just blows my mind and leaves me speechless. And, I'm really glad that I'm okay now. But like I said, I just really feel for everybody out there that has suffered greatly from that illness. And I think that we have a really tough, 6 months ahead. In some places more than others. Like I'm really glad that I live in California and we have a really good handle on this next wave. Some states don't. My family is in Missouri and they have a totally different, totally different environment going on out there. And I had to really press my family to get vaccinated. And I'm so glad that they all are, because in the time since they've gotten vaccinated, my dad has literally, like, one of his best friends died because he wasn't vaccinated. And I don't want to just like start going into really dark territory, but I'm saying this to say, get vaccinated if you can, but also know that like we're not out of this yet. This is going to be around for a long time, you guys, and we have to adapt. So, wear a mask as much as you can, especially when you're in crowded situations. Even if you're vaccinated, even if people are showing negative tests, like wear the mask, protect yourself, protect each other, wash your hands, and build your immune system, because I wasn't doing that. I was not building my immune system, and I really regret that. So I have ordered some vitamins and stuff, and maybe I'll talk about that another time, but yeah, I've re-upped on everything, and I have a new appreciation for life, honestly. Oh my God, so rude, excuse me. I have a new appreciation for life after getting vaccinated, getting a version of COVID, um, experiencing kind of a depression and coming out of it alive and better. And I feel like my vision is more clear. My priorities have been arranged, and I'm just excited to continue tackling life because it is a gift, and we have to do the things that we love, the things that make us happy, the things that make us feel good, and stop saying yes to things that we know are not for us, or say yes and figure it out the hard way. But life is precious. We have, you know, it is September. I am taking it up a notch. I'm taking care of myself. I'm working out every day. I'm meditating every day. And I'm doing the things that I love to do. And I hope that you can do the same. And, just gear up for a strange winter, another strange winter, because it's going to be weird, I imagine. Unfortunately, the science is telling us that our vaccines are not going to continue working forever. We know this. So just be careful out there. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mind, body, soul, spirit on the deepest levels. Really get in touch with yourself and really take care of yourself, and encourage the people around you to do the same. Thank you so much for listening, watching, viewing, subscribing. Please like, share, comment, all the great things. And yes, see you in a vlog or in a podcast very soon, because they're coming. So get ready. And again, thank you. Bye.